guys, Mustang here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to do the team building guide for the low class warriors stage of Super Battle Road that is going to be releasing on Global tomorrow. This one not going to be super difficult, I think, for a lot of people, considering the fact that you can make a very good and very viable free-to-play team. But obviously, if you want to beat this in the most efficient way possible, especially if you go for no item runs like me, then obviously there are certain units that are going to be much better for this run than others. So, as always with my team building guides, I'm going to go over my top picks and honourable mentions. With this being such a small category, there are obviously a lot of units that are honourable mentions. There are some units, of course, that we won't touch on at all, because I don't really think they're worth running, even if you have no other options. Which I say because, again, there's like a full free-to-play team you can basically make, right? So if you don't have some of these better options, then the free-to-play team is going to be the way to go. So like I say, as always, I give you my top picks and my honourable mentions. If there's any units you think I should have talked about that would be good for this team, let me know down below in the comments section. And obviously, if you do find this guide helpful at all, do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, starting out, we obviously have the actual low-class warrior category leader is AGL Bardock. He gives 4 key, HP 130 and attack and defense 170. So he is the actual low class warrior leader, but he's definitely not the best leader for this if you have every single unit in the game available to you. For Super Battle Road, he's obviously not the best unit. He raises defense infinitely, but you don't get a lot of time to stack. You do get more attack for low-class warriors allies on the team, which of course, you know, we're going to be running a full team. And then he has attacks effective against all types when there is a Wicked Bloodline category enemy, which if we go back to the actual list of the stages here for low-class warrior, we don't have Wicked Bloodline enemies in the first phase. Yeah, no, we don't have Wicked Bloodline enemies at all. So there are no Wicked Bloodline enemies throughout the stage, so he's obviously not the best unit. You can't get the instant transformation with him, which means you can't transform until turn 4. So chances are, even if you don't use, you do use him, you're probably not going to see him transform very often, if at all. But in terms of being able to run anyone under the leader skill, he is the low-class warrior leader. Now, the next unit might be shocking to cover this unit, considering he gets memed on so much, but shout out to Raditz Defender out there. This one's for you. This is one of the few times where physical Raditz will probably be the best unit to use on the team. He leads Saiyan Saga or Pure Saiyans, but obviously remember, low-class warriors might as well be called low-class Saiyans because they're all Pure Saiyan units anyway, and a lot of them, if not all of them, for the team are on space traveling warriors. Not all of them are for sure, but units like Raditz, the team Bardock, etc., they are all on space traveling warriors, so they are getting the 200% leader skill from physical Raditz. So even if you don't have him yourself, he's going to be the most optimal choice to use as a leader. He does have an AoE super attack. Unfortunately, it doesn't really do much damage. Unless he's on low HP, or the enemy you're attacking is on low HP. But he is still going to be a solid unit for this, right? Like, if there's any one event that he's made for, it's going to be this low-class warriors Super Battle Road stage. And then he does have an active skill. If you've received an attack 3 times, once you're down to 1 final enemy, and then you can use the active skill either as a finisher, or it does get a guaranteed stun. So if you focus on the other enemies and have 1 enemy remaining, even with full HP, you can go ahead and use Raditz's active skill to get a guaranteed stun, and then that pretty much puts you in the clear for the rest of that event. So it's going to be one of the few times you'll ever hear me say this, but physical Raditz, very, very good for this event. Now, obviously, we have this new physical Farsha. I was double checking the dates. The double rate spanner with her and the new Chilai comes out, I think it's like 5 days after this, is it 3 or 5 after this stage comes out. So if you do have trouble with the stage when it first drops, and you want to, you know, you don't mind waiting a couple of days to get the rewards for beating the stage, if you are going to summon on the double rate spanner, which I will do a whole separate video about. In fact, I don't know if by the time this video goes up I will have done it or not, but for Global, the banner that she and Chilai release on will be a Carnival banner with Carnival coins. as well as being double rate. So for me personally, as someone who does summon on basically every banner, I am actually kind of looking forward to throwing some summons at this banner. So if you do get her, she is a low class warriors lead for 130%, or obviously she fits very nicely on the team. As you can see, part of Team Bardock, she's in space traveling warriors. She would get the 200% leader skill from physical Raditz. She guards for 4 turns, so obviously very good defensive unit. She launches an additional attack that has a high chance to become a super starting from the 5th turn, so you're not going to see that very much, unfortunately. But she also builds up attack and defense with each attack received. She gets an additional attack and defense each time guard is activated, which again can happen multiple times. So in those first 4 turns when she's got guard activated, if she gets hit, 5 times to build up her full, or is it 4? Yeah, 5. 5 times to build up her full passive. If she's being hit those 5 times while she's also still guarding in the first 4 turns, then her attack and defense buff is like 300%, which is pretty crazy. Now, she only gets that extra buff if there are 3 or more low-class warriors on the team, but obviously on this stage, you obviously going to have a full low-class warrior team. So she unironically can become like the best defensive unit on the team. If in turn 1, there's a whole bunch of attacks in slot 1, you just put her there and she just soaks them all up. So anyone who does have any troubles with this stage and you are planning to summon on this banner, just wait until you get her and she will absolutely destroy it, because she has a high chance to stun on super as well, so very, very good. Now, moving back to the units we already have, we talked about physical Raditz, but tech Raditz is still a very good option. Against multiple enemies, he has damage reduction, he has the high chance to stun, but when you are fighting multiple enemies, he gets a guaranteed stun for 1 turn. So you either, worst case RNG, you just get the stun for the rest of the turn. Best case RNG, you get the stun from his super attack effect, and then they are stunned for the next turn as well. So obviously he is very, very good on the team. He can be a bit of a liability when you drop down to 1 enemy, because he just gets a little bit of an attack and defense buff, but no damage reduction, so he can take a fair bit of damage if there is only 1 enemy. But of course he still has that chance to stun. So if you're running him on the team, even with the physical Raditz or without, I would probably use him more as like a 3rd slot floater that can be there to get stuns more so than anything. But he can be very, very useful. And then I thought I would mention the Grey Ape Raditz as well, because if you are running one of the other Raditzes, obviously these guys link up really, really well together. And post Easy A, those 3 Grey Apes that all got an Easy A together, they are actually pretty good. Like post Super, because he greatly raises defense, his defense is actually reasonably good. And he is a nuking style unit, so obviously the more orbs you pick up, the better he's going to be. So he can actually be very good. And of course he can transform into a giant ape, so you can get a couple of turns of free damage. So definitely can be good if you're running one of the other Raditzes. If you're not running any of the other Raditz or any other Grey Ape units, I probably wouldn't bother bringing him. But he can be a solid pick for the team. And of course he'll be getting the 200% leader skill as well. So next up we have the LR Bardock. So LR Bardock is probably going to be the best unit on the team in terms of just out and out damage. Obviously for his 18 key super, he raises his defense as well as sealing the enemy, which is very, very good for Super Battle Road. So all in all, just a very solid, powerful unit with his Easy A. When you're facing multiple enemies, you do get extra key and extra defense. So it's not going to be super hard to hit that 18 key super, get the seals off on enemies, and obviously do a lot of damage in the process. And then of course if he gets the additional 12 key, not only is he doing more damage, but he greatly raises attack and defense on his 12 key as well. So overall he can just look very, very good. You have him on rotation with any one of these like supports or any of these other good Team Bardock units that activate a lot of his links, and then he's going to be looking very, very powerful. And of course he is on Raditz's 200% leader skill as well. So next up we have Turles. Turles is going to be another MVP for the team. It's just a shame you can't use him as a leader, because obviously movie bosses, there are no other low class warrior movie bosses aside from the other Turleses. And extreme class, I guess you could, but like all of the other Raditzes have a better leader skill than him anyway, right, for the lead. So you're not going to use him as a leader, but He's probably a must run on the team if you have him. Raises attack and defense on his super with a medium chance to stun. He's providing all allies with 3 ki and 40% attack. I believe all of the enemies are extreme class on this stage, so he won't be giving the defense buff. But just the ki and attack is obviously very, very good as well. And then he does have the chance to transform when HP is 80% or below. There's no turn restriction on that, so if you're going into the second or third fight on low HP, he could transform straight away on turn 1, which would then obviously be very good, because once he transforms, he's hitting a lot harder, has much higher defense, has a higher chance to stun, heals you at the start of the turn, so he's going to be a very good unit. He is a must run on the team if you have him, in my opinion. So very, very solid unit with the support and the stuns. So next up we have the version Z free-to-play LR Goku. He's another unit that can be good on the team thanks to his support. He gives a lot of support to all allies, 2 ki and attack and defense 30%. You're always attacking extreme class enemies, so he gets extra ki as well as an extra attack buff. So very easy to get his 18 ki super. And he can do quite a significant amount of damage. His defense isn't the best, but it's still pretty good. So I think he is going to be very useful on the team. It's unlikely you're going to get to 5 turns in an SBR fight, but if you do, then obviously you have his active skill, which at that point is probably going to be used as a finishing blow more so than anything else. But he's very good for offering support on this team. He's not on Raditz's 200% leader skill, so I don't think he's necessarily a top pick for the team. But like, if you didn't have Turles, for example, and you want some support, this guy would be a go-to stand-in for him. So next up, we're going to look at the 5 free-to-play Team Bardock units. These are the ones I mentioned before. Like, if you don't have any of the units we talked about so far, summonable-wise, well, this guy's free to play, so you can have him. You are going to have the Team Bardock unit. So some are better than others. Borgos, I think, is one of the ones that is a must include when it's a Super Battle Road stage, because when you're facing 2 or more enemies, he gets an additional super attack guaranteed, and he has a high chance to stun on his super. He also gets a high chance to crit when you have another Team Bardock ally on the same turn. So again, the more of them you use, obviously the better he's going to be. But he is a very, very good unit. And getting those stuns, because with his hidden potential, he could potentially super 3 times. So chances are you are more than likely to stun the unit that he's attacking with those 3 supers, unless you get really unlucky. So he's very, very good. Now, Tora, he provides support and recovers some HP, but he's definitely weak defensively at the start because he's a unit that can infinitely stack his attack and defense. So in the early turns, he could potentially take quite a lot of damage. I think with some of the other support units that we have available, he's probably not a top pick, but obviously if you have to run the full free-to-play team, he is still very good and is giving that support as well as the HP recovery, because you're always going to have the low-class warrior restriction because we're doing low-class warrior SBR, so that healing can certainly come in clutch. Farsha is probably the best out of the 5 except for maybe Bardock. She greatly raises defense on super. She has a built-in chance to dodge. As long as she gets 1 dodge, she gives all allies 3 ki, and then Team Bardock allies 30% attack and defense. So if you have her in slot 1 and she gets a dodge, and then you have physical LR Bardock in slot 2, the amount of damage that he can do is absolutely insane. She also creates rainbow orbs when there's an ally whose name includes Bardock on the team, which you're most likely going to have. So she is definitely very good. Even if you're running the physical one, you could run this one just on the opposite rotation, and she's going to be very, very good. So she's probably the best out of the free-to-play ones, except for Bardock himself, mainly because he is a nuker that gets 20% per key sphere, which is a very good buff. He also has damage reduction per Team Bardock ally. So if you are bringing a bunch of the non-Team Bardock low-class warriors, then you obviously have to bear in mind that that damage reduction is going to be a little bit lower. But if you are running the 5 Team Bardock units, because I mean you could essentially run Raditz and then LR Bardock if you have him, and then 4 of the free-to-play ones, and then you're going to have 5 Team Bardock units on the team, and he's going to have his full 50% damage reduction as well as the 200% leader skill. So he can be very, very good, and he seals super attacks. He raises attack and defense for 1 turn on super, so he's very, very good. I would say him and Farsha are probably tied for being the most useful out of the 5, and then it's probably Borgos next. Shugesh is pretty good. He's got solid attack and defense, gets more when there's Team Bardock ally on the turn. He gets a crit guaranteed if the enemy is stunned, and he stuns if the enemy is sealed, so he plays very nicely alongside like Bardock and Borgos, taking advantage of their abilities as well. And then he launches an additional attack that has a high chance to become a super when the enemy is in attack or defense down. So he's very good depending on who else you have on the team. Otherwise, he can be a bit less effective, like if you didn't bring any stunners or any sealers or anything like that. But as we've talked about already, there are quite a few options for those abilities on the team. And then last but not least, we have the Team Bardock. Still unable to rainbow them. This unit, very outdated, desperately needs that final copy and an easy A. But if you are running the full free-to-play Team Bardock team, then obviously these guys would be the lead. They are providing 60% support to the Team Bardock units, and then 30% to any other super class, which means they don't fit into the team super well if you're running like Raditz and Turles units, because they're not giving them any support. And they don't have any super attack effects like stunning or sealing. They raise super attack super class allies attack with their 12 key super, but they're not a unit that you would really want to put in slot 1. So honestly, I feel like this unit, you're only running them if you have to run the full free-to-play team, where you run these guys as the leader and then the 5 free-to-play units. Otherwise, I would immediately switch them out, because their leader skill is only 120. So even units that we talked about, like the Tech Raditz, he has a 120 leader skill. It's better to just use him as a leader, because he is better in Super Battle Road than this unit is. So this probably is the worst unit out of all the ones that we've talked about to use. But if you want to run the full free-to-play team, they're obviously who you're going to run as the leader. So that was it for the top picks and honorable mentions. I guess free to play in Raditz. He does have his AoE, and he's not terrible, but he's not the best unit. I wouldn't use him in like a no item run attempt or anything like that. All of the Team Bardock Grade 8 units are pretty bad now. They desperately need easy A's. Kid Goku doesn't really fit on the team because of his links. He can stun at least. And obviously JP has the new Kid Goku, who would be very good, but we don't have him on global. This Kid Goku Grade 8 that got his easy A in a similar situation to the Raditz, he's not terrible, but again, doesn't fit into the team super well. So let me know what you guys think down below. As I said at the beginning, there's not a huge variation of options, but there are definitely some units that are way better and going to make this run much easier than just using the free-to-play team. So let me know what you guys think down below. Like I said, if you do think I missed out on a unit, or I should have highlighted one of their abilities that makes them so good for this stage a bit more than I did, let me know down below in the comments, and let me know what your team is going to look like for this low-class warrior SBR stage. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.